Hey everyone. Tonight we don't begin with armies or revolutions, but with a flicker of fire and a leaf turning to smoke. Long before science or sin, the earth forged its own chemistry, and one plant learned to speak through our lungs. Its resin once wrapped the pharaohs, fed the monks, and lulled soldiers through sleepless wars. It built ships, healed wounds, sparked empires, and was burned by the very hands that worshipped it. Every age called it something different: medicine, devil, cure, crime, but it never changed. Only we did. So tonight, as we follow its trail from sacred altars to modern dispensaries, let the smoke settle and the noise fade. If history's forgotten comforts and forbidden medicines keep you awake, hit like, subscribe, and drift with me through the long, quiet story of the plant that remembered humanity. Tell me, what do you think this smoke was meant to heal? Drift back now, far beyond the memory of humanity, to a time when Earth itself was still forming its grand designs. Imagine the air, crisp and thin, carrying the scent of ancient stone and the hum of a world in Genesis. For countless millennia, long before any human mind conceived of pleasure or pain, this nascent planet was a boundless laboratory, inventing chemistry from raw elements and primal forces. Feel the deep rumble beneath your feet as the colossal forces of the Himalayan uplift began their slow, majestic work. It was an epic of grand geologic gestures, when continents collided and mountains scraped the very belly of the sky. Around 35 million years ago, as these colossal peaks stretched towards the heavens, vast, dry, sun-blasted plateaus were carved into the land. The light here was harsh, unrelenting, a constant, golden hammer on Earth's raw surface, a place of extremes where life itself had to learn resilience. From this crucible of fierce sunlight and unforgiving dryness, a humble plant began to differentiate itself, slowly evolving from its more familiar kin, the hop family. You can almost sense the subtle shift in its genetic code, the quiet, persistent whisper of evolution guiding its path. It was here, in this ancient, arid landscape, that cannabis was born. It wasn't born for our delight. Not yet. Its primordial purpose was pragmatic, immediate. Notice the tiny, glistening droplets of its sticky resin on its leaves, almost invisible to the naked eye. This wasn't some early offering of joy or altered perception. No. This was its armor, its silent, shimmering shield against relentless ultraviolet radiation, and a subtle, potent deterrent against myriad insects. Within those delicate, crystalline structures, those microscopic trichomes, a complex dance of molecules began. A chemistry so intricate, so profound, that it would, by pure cosmic accident, come to mirror the very chemistry within our own bodies. Millions of years later, it was a lock forged by nature, waiting for a key that hadn't even been conceived. Meanwhile, in a parallel stream of evolution, the animal kingdom was also undergoing its own marvelous transformations. Observe a primitive creature moving through ancient forests, its internal system slowly, painstakingly developing. Over immense stretches of time, an elaborate network began to emerge within these evolving creatures, the endocannabinoid system. It was a master regulator, a silent orchestra conductor designed to bring harmony and balance to the essential functions of life, mitigating pain, tempering mood swings, ensuring restful sleep, and orchestrating a delicate equilibrium within the body. Imagine this system as an intricate, finely tuned instrument, learning to play the music of biological stability. Evolution, in its infinite wisdom, was quietly building two complementary halves of an incredibly complex lock and key mechanism, the plant and the brain, unaware of the profound meeting that awaited them millions of years in the future. Humanity, when it eventually arrived on the scene, was not the inventor of this grand design. We were, in a cosmic sense, merely the missing half, the final piece in nature's breathtaking puzzle, destined to unlock a potential that had been brewing since the dawn of time. Evolution didn't consciously plan for pleasure, for euphoria, for altered states of consciousness. No, its grander, more fundamental plan was far simpler. More elegant, it planned for balance, for a profound state of internal harmony. The pleasure would come later, an unexpected and powerful byproduct of this ancient, interwoven dance between plant and consciousness. You are witnessing the very beginning of a long, quiet story, a narrative whispered by the earth itself. Now, fast forward countless millennia, you stand at the precipice of human history, where the flickering light of discovery first cut through the primordial darkness. Crouch low in a cave, the air thick with the smell of damp earth and wood smoke. The chill of the ancient night presses in, and the gnawing hunger for warmth is a primal, relentless sensation. This wasn't a moment of intention, not a conscious quest for altered states. No, the very first high in human history, the one that ignited a spark in our collective consciousness, wasn't a deliberate choice. It was a simple, accidental byproduct of survival. It was a campfire. Watch as a prehistoric human, seeking refuge from the cold, perhaps gathering whatever dry fuel was at hand, tosses a bundle of resinous branches onto the crackling flames. The wood, dark and gnarled, hisses as it catches, and an unfamiliar scent begins to waft into the enclosed space. It's a sweet, sharp, almost pungent aroma, unlike anything encountered before, mingling with the familiar smell of burning wood. As the resin heats, vaporizes, and ignites, a plume of thick, heavy smoke begins to curl and eddy, filling the small cave. Feel the warmth radiating from the fire, the flickering light dancing on the rough cave walls, illuminating ancient carvings that seem to watch with silent, stone eyes. As the smoke swirls, you feel a subtle shift in the atmosphere, an almost imperceptible change in the air you breathe. The human you observe coughs, perhaps rubs their eyes, but doesn't move away. The smoke, thick and inescapable in the confined space, slowly, inexorably, enters their lungs. Suddenly, their heart begins to race, a rapid drumming against their ribs. The familiar contours of the cave, the shadows playing on the walls, seem to blur, to waver, taking on an ethereal quality. Their eyes widen, fixed on the dancing flames, which now seem to pulse with an almost supernatural intensity. In that moment, stripped of any scientific understanding, the human could only interpret this profound shift through the lens of their nascent spiritual world. They likely believed that spirits had entered the flames, transforming the mundane act of seeking warmth into an encounter with the divine. But with the hindsight of millennia, we understand the truth. It wasn't spirits entering the flames. It was a complex chemistry entering their lungs, awakening the ancient, waiting lock and key system within their very being. Archaeological evidence later revealed traces of this ancient encounter. In the Pamir Mountains, around 2500 BCE, early humans created what might be called the earliest hot box, ritual space where they intentionally burned seeds rich in THC. The smoke wasn't for casual recreation. It was for something far deeper. It became a solemn ritual, a bridge, a permeable veil between the physical world and the realm of ancestors. Not an escape from reality, but a profound communion with it. You can almost hear the soft chants, the rhythmic breathing, the deep inhales as they sought wisdom and connection. And perhaps, in a moment of dark humor that spans the ages, we might reflect that they didn't invent gods from thin air. Rather, in those smoke-filled caves, in those ancient ritual spaces, they simply inhaled a little too deeply, unlocking perceptions that felt divine, unearthing a spirituality that was, in part, chemically induced. What began as a mere act of survival, a simple need for warmth, was inadvertently transformed into a pathway to transcendence. When the first wisps of smoke met the first human breath, consciousness itself met chemistry, and the world was forever changed. Feel the quiet reverberation of that ancient moment, stretching across time to touch you now. Journey forward now, into the dawn of settled civilization, to a time when humanity began to shift from nomadic hunter-gatherer to farmer, cultivating the earth and shaping its bounty. Around 12,000 BCE, find yourself amidst the fertile plains of ancient China, where the gentle whispers of the wind carry the scent of rich soil and nascent agriculture. Here, early farmers diligently tilled the land, planting the first seeds of civilization. Watch as they carefully sow millet and barley, grains that would sustain their growing communities. But beside these familiar crops, another plant seems almost too generous, too versatile: hemp. There's a quiet irony in this scene. We often tell ourselves that we domesticated this plant, bent it to our will. But standing here, amidst the burgeoning fields, you begin to suspect a deeper truth, perhaps, in a profound and subtle way. It was farming us. It was shaping our societies, offering gifts too valuable to ignore, guiding our development with its myriad benefits. Imagine the sheer utility of this plant. It was a veritable one-stop survival kit, a silent partner in the immense undertaking of building human civilization. See hands working the stalks, transforming them into strong, pliable rope, essential for countless tasks. Feel the rough texture of the fibers, sturdy and reliable. Its seeds yielded nourishing oil, a precious source of energy, while the seeds themselves were a fundamental, nutritious food source. And then, there was its medicine, a quiet balm for the aches and pains that were an unavoidable part of hard physical labor. Before the advent of complex tools or sophisticated metallurgy, this plant provided the very sinews of survival. Notice faint imprints on ancient clay pots, the distinctive woven patterns of hemp rope preserving a silent testament to its ubiquity. In ancient graves, alongside the earthly possessions of the departed, remnants of hemp cords, perhaps used to bind shrouds, symbolize life even in death. By 4000 BCE, human ingenuity, guided by the plant's natural variations, had begun to shape its future. Watch as farmers selectively breed two distinct strains, one tall and graceful, yielding strong fibers for textiles and rope. The other, shorter and more compact, rich in the resinous compounds that offered comfort and altered perception. This was the silent, profound specialization of a chemical friend. Feel the rough weave of hemp fabric clothing bodies against the elements. Imagine sturdy ropes binding together the timbers of early shelters. forming the very framework of human habitation. Picture fishing nets, intricately woven from hemp, cast into rivers and seas, providing sustenance for entire communities. This wasn't just a plant. It was the very fabric of civilization, woven into daily life. And amidst this utility, the resin, with its quiet power, continued to soothe pain and calm the restless mind. A potent medicine long before written prescriptions or elaborate medical texts. In these early days, the distinction between a practical tool and a sacred substance, between the utilitarian and the spiritual, was wonderfully, powerfully blurred. The same plant that provided the rope to build a house could also offer the smoke that brought a sense of connection to the cosmos. From humble rope to profound ritual, the utility of this remarkable plant seamlessly transformed into something spiritual, something sacred. You are witnessing the subtle yet profound integration of nature's bounty into the very soul of humanity. You are now transported to the heart of ancient China, a land of emperors and scholars, where the delicate brushstrokes of history began to record the wisdom of millennia. Imagine the grandeur of early imperial courts, the rustle of silk, the intricate carvings of jade. Here, around 2737 BCE, you encounter the legendary figure of Emperor Shennong, known as the Divine Farmer. Picture him not as a distant, mythical figure, but as a dedicated, almost obsessive scientist of his age. You can almost see him, staff in hand, traversing mountains and valleys, driven by an insatiable curiosity and profound compassion for his people. Legend says he tasted everything, every root, leaf, and berry, enduring countless poisons, all in the quest to understand the medicinal properties of the plant kingdom. It was in this epic, self-sacrificing quest that hemp, which the Chinese called ma, truly ascended to its status as a sacred medicine. Hear the rustle of bamboo scrolls as the emperor dictated his observations, compiling what would become the Divine Farmer's Materia Medica. In this foundational text, a veritable Bible of ancient Chinese medicine, hemp was lauded for its ability to treat a wide array of ailments. Imagine the relief it brought to those suffering from debilitating fevers of malaria, chronic aches of rheumatism, or the creeping fog of forgetfulness. It was a plant of profound versatility, a quiet hero in the healing arts. Centuries later, in the 2nd century CE, observe another pivotal figure, Surgeon Hua Tuo. Picture him in a humble clinic, perhaps lit by the soft glow of oil lamps, surrounded by herbs and instruments. He was a master healer, renowned for his surgical prowess, and his greatest innovation involved this very plant. Hua Tuo brewed a concoction he called Ma Fei San, often translated as cannabis boiling powder. This wasn't just a pain reliever. It was, by many accounts, the world's first complete anesthesia. Imagine the profound relief it offered to patients facing excruciating operations, allowing a skilled surgeon to perform his delicate work without the agony that had plagued medicine for so long. Consider the delicate philosophy embedded within its name. Ma, in this context, represented not just the plant, but a profound balance, an equilibrium. The leaf was seen to embody yin, the cooling, calming, introspective force, while the resin, with its more potent, activating properties, represented yang, the warming, stimulating, outward energy. Ma Fei San, therefore, was a harmonious blend, a chemical expression of the eternal quest for balance. for a profound equilibrium achieved through chemistry. You can almost feel the gentle release, the quiet calm it brought to minds and bodies in distress. Beyond its anointing as a potent medicine, hemp continued to serve in countless practical ways. Its oil was applied to ease the sting of wounds, a soothing balm against infection and pain. Its fibers, strong and durable, clothed monks in their humble robes and provided essential garments for soldiers, protecting them from the elements as they guarded the empire. There's a quiet, almost ironic humor in considering China's later history. China invented anesthesia, a profound medical breakthrough, only to later ban its central ingredient for being too effective, too potent for public consumption, too prone to altering perception. But for millennia, in its purest form, hemp was never considered a sin in ancient China. It was an unquestioned pillar of their early medical system, a foundational element of their healing philosophy, deeply integrated into the welfare of the people. Before the tragic Opium Wars, which would later introduce a different kind of plant-derived drug and its devastating consequences, there was a quiet, enduring hemp peace, a time when this plant was celebrated for its healing and utility, not demonized. Feel the deep reverence for its presence, woven into the very fabric of ancient Chinese life. Journey eastward now, guided by the scent of incense and spices, to the vibrant, ancient land of India. A place where spirituality permeated every aspect of life, where the mundane could suddenly burst into the divine. Here, the relationship with this remarkable plant transcended mere medicine or utility. It ascended to the realm of the sacred, intertwined with gods, rituals, and the very quest for enlightenment. Feel the warm, humid air, hear the distant chime of temple bells, and sense the profound spiritual energy that pulsed through this land. In the hallowed verses of the Atharva Veda, one of the most ancient and revered texts of Hinduism, you find a direct, unambiguous proclamation. Bhanga, the Sanskrit name for cannabis, is not merely mentioned, it is elevated, named as one of the 5 sacred plants, a divine gift intended to free mankind from fear. Imagine the weight of those words, affirming its sacred status, a plant held in profound reverence, seen as an ally against the anxieties and terrors of mortal existence. You hear whispers of Soma, a legendary, divine drink mentioned in ancient Vedic texts, while its exact ingredients remain a subject of scholarly debate. Many interpretations suggest that cannabis played a significant role, perhaps alongside ephedra, blended with prayers and profound devotion. Imagine the ritual of its consumption, a sacred elixir intended to bridge the chasm between heaven and earth, allowing mortals to glimpse the divine, to touch the transcendent. It was a liquid pathway to spiritual insight, a communion with cosmic forces. Picture the tantric yogis, their bodies contorted in ancient poses, minds focused inward. See the smoke curling around them, the quiet intensity in their eyes. They used bhang not for frivolous enjoyment, but as a potent tool, a spiritual catalyst. Their goal was profound: to dissolve the boundaries of the individual ego, to shed the illusion of separation, and to merge with the consciousness of Shiva, the destroyer and transformer, the ultimate reality. It was a profound spiritual practice, where the plant aided in transcending the limitations of the self, guiding them towards cosmic unity. As you wander through ancient markets and dusty paths, you encounter the wandering sadhus, holy men who have renounced worldly life, their faces often painted with ash. Watch as they gather in quiet contemplation, sharing a chillum, a traditional pipe. They inhale deeply, drawing in the rich, earthy smoke of karas, a potent cannabis concentrate. For them, this was not indulgence. It was an act of devotion, a means to invoke the God within, to deepen their meditation, to connect directly with the divine spirit that resided in all things. The smoke was a prayer, an offering, a pathway to inner revelation. Even the fierce Nihang Sikhs, warrior mystics known for their bravery and devotion, embraced this plant in their own unique way. Hear the clash of steel, the thud of drums, feel the tension before battle, before charging into chaos. They would drink Sukni Dan, a preparation of cannabis, which instilled a profound sense of calm, a tranquil fearlessness that allowed them to face danger with unwavering resolve. It was their sacred courage, a liquid stillness before the storm. And here, in the midst of this spiritual reverence, you might allow yourself a gentle, knowing smile, musing that even gods, in their cosmic wisdom, seem to have their own coping mechanisms. Pang Lassi, a delicious concoction of milk, sugar, and bhang, became a common offering, a liquid form of faith, enjoyed during festivals and spiritual gatherings. It was a beverage that blended earthly delight with divine aspiration. In India, cannabis was never perceived as rebellion. It was embraced as revelation, a gift from the gods, a key to unlocking deeper truths. Feel the deep resonance of its presence, an ancient, sacred hum within the heart of this land. Drift westward now, following the mighty flow of the Nile, to the sun-drenched sands of ancient Egypt and the fertile crescent of Mesopotamia. Imagine the towering pyramids piercing the azure sky, intricate hieroglyphs adorning temple walls, the rich scent of myrrh and frankincense mingling with the desert air. Here, in these cradles of civilization, the plant you are tracing found a profound, solemn role, connecting the living with the dead, weaving its essence into rituals of transition and the promise of an afterlife. You are transported back to around 1550 BCE, standing in the presence of an invaluable ancient text, the Ebers Papyrus. Feel the delicate, brittle texture of the scroll as you glimpse its wisdom. This medical treatise, a treasure trove of Egyptian healing knowledge, meticulously lists hemp among its various remedies. It was prescribed not for spiritual transcendence here, but for very earthly ailments to alleviate pain, to soothe inflammation, to bring comfort to suffering bodies. Imagine the quiet relief it offered to those afflicted with everyday maladies, a testament to its practical medicinal value long before any modern pharmaceutical. But its presence extended far beyond the immediate concerns of the living. Consider the majestic tombs of the pharaohs, eternal resting places built to defy time itself. Sense the cool, dry air within these hallowed chambers, the profound silence. Here, amidst the treasures and mummified remains, something intriguing has been discovered: hemp pollen, microscopic evidence of its venerated status, found clinging to the ancient air within the tombs of formidable rulers like Ramses II and the enigmatic Akhenaten. This wasn't accidental. It was deliberate, a silent blessing for their journey to the Duat, the Egyptian underworld. Even the divine realm acknowledged its significance. Notice the depiction of the goddess Seshat, the revered deity of wisdom, knowledge, and writing. Look closely at her distinctive crown, and you will see it adorned with a stylized, seven-pointed leaf, an unmistakable symbol, hinting at the plant's deep connection to enlightenment and sacred knowledge within their cosmology. Journey further north, to the ancient lands of Assyria and Babylonia, where mighty ziggurats rose towards the heavens. Imagine the solemn grandeur of their temples, the hushed reverence of the priests. You can almost smell the thick, intoxicating smoke rising from burning censers. Here, kunubu, cannabis oil mixed with other potent resins, was burned as sacred incense. This wasn't merely to mask odors. It was a purification, an offering, a means to elevate prayers and communicate with the myriad gods and spirits of their pantheon. The smoke was a physical manifestation of their devotion, spiraling upwards, carrying intentions to the divine. Even more striking is the archaeological discovery at Tel Arad in Israel. Feel the dry desert wind whispering across the ruins of an ancient altar. Residues found here confirm the ritual use of cannabis, suggesting its integration into sacrificial practices, perhaps as an aid to divination or a medium for prophecy. The sacred smoke was a constant presence in these solemn rites. And finally, return to the profound solemnity of Egyptian funerary rites. The dead, prepared for their eternal voyage, were sometimes embalmed using hemp oil. This wasn't just a practical preservative, it was a consecration, a literal holy smoke infused into their very bodies, guiding them safely into the afterlife. Feel the quiet reverence of the embalmers performing their sacred duty. A touch of dark humor might cross your mind as you consider these ancient practices the first aromatherapy. Perhaps, but designed for corpses, a final comfort for the journey beyond. But in Egypt, they didn't smoke to forget their mortal coil. They smoked. They used the plant to remember, to honor, to ensure the continuity of spirit and the eternal journey of the soul. Feel the echoes of their beliefs. A quiet reassurance that life, in some form, endures beyond the veil. Journey now into the heart of ancient Persia, a land of vast empires, soaring mountains, and a profound spiritual tradition centered around the eternal flame. Imagine the stark beauty of the Zagros Mountains, the crisp, thin air carrying the scent of pine and distant campfires. Here, in this cradle of Zoroastrianism, you encounter a different, yet equally sacred, relationship with the plant. This wasn't about fleeting pleasure. It was about the profound purification of the soul, a release from the burdens of fear through the transformative power of fire. In the sacred texts of the Avesta, the holy scriptures of Zoroastrianism, you find a revered substance known as hayoma, or sometimes pang. It was more than a mere drink or herb. It was a divine elixir, believed to cleanse the soul, to strip away impurities, and, most profoundly, to restore life, both spiritual and physical. Imagine the earnest prayers, the solemn rituals accompanying its preparation and consumption, intended to bring devotees closer to Ahura Mazda, the wise Lord. Picture the priests, robed in white, their faces serene, gathered around the sacred fire altar. The flickering flames, considered the purest manifestation of God, cast long, dancing shadows on the temple walls. Hear the low, rhythmic chanting. Feel the warmth emanating from the perpetual flame. In a ritual of deep significance, these priests would mix hemp smoke with the sacred fire. This wasn't an act of intoxication in the modern sense. It was a profound act of purification, a symbolic cleansing of sins and spiritual toxins through the ultimate element of transformation flame. The smoke, infused with the plant's essence, became a vehicle for spiritual renewal, carrying prayers and intentions skyward. Archaeological discoveries echo these ancient practices. Feel the cool, aged metal as you examine copper censers, excavated from sites within the Zagros Mountains. Within these vessels, remnants of resin, consistent with cannabis, have been found, silent witnesses to millennia-old ceremonies. These were not recreational devices. They were instruments of divine communion, held in the hands of those who sought to connect with the cosmic order. Imagine the deeply held belief in the afterlife, particularly the perilous journey across the Chinvat Bridge, the Bridge of Judgment, which separated the living world from the realm of the dead. The sacred smoke, imbued with the plant's purifying power, was believed to guide spirits across this treacherous passage, offering protection and clarity, ensuring a safe transition into the spiritual realms. Feel the profound comfort this belief must have offered to those facing the inevitable journey. This ritual of purification through smoke and fire, this profound connection with the plant, slowly spread its influence, radiating outwards from the Persian heartlands. You can trace its subtle diffusion towards the spiritual melting pots of India and the Levant, where its symbolism and utility would intertwine with other rich traditions. In Persia, they did not fear the fire, they fed it. They understood its transformative power, recognizing the plant as a natural ally in their spiritual quest. Cannabis, in this context, embodied resurrection, a renewal of spirit and soul, far more than it represented mere intoxication. Its essence was about cleansing, rebirth, and the continuity of existence. And in a fascinating convergence of ancient wisdom and modern science, we realize now that these ancient priests intuitively understood something that contemporary chemistry has only recently confirmed: the heat-stable resins of the cannabis plant, which retain their psychoactive properties even when subjected to the intense heat of fire, perfectly align with the theological significance attributed to its smoke. The chemistry, in a way, was always matching the theology, offering a quiet validation of practices born from profound spiritual insight. Witness a beautiful harmony between the ancient world and the scientific understanding of today. You are now swept away by the winds of the steppe, transported to the vast, windswept plains, where the Scythian nomads, fierce warriors and skilled horsemen, roamed thousands of years ago. Imagine the boundless horizons, the galloping horses, the scent of leather and open fires, the crisp, cold air against your face. These were people of the wild, connected intimately with the land, and their relationship with the plant was as primal and direct as their existence. Picture the scene described by the ancient Greek historian Herodotus, his words echoing across the ages. He tells of the Scythians, gathered within their simple, felt tents, often circular, offering meager but essential shelter against the elements. You can almost hear the crackling of a small fire in the center. See the faces of the nomads, etched with the stories of harsh journeys and fierce battles. On hot stones, carefully placed within their tents, they would throw hemp seeds. These weren't merely seeds. They were tiny packets of Ashoan power, releasing their essence when heated. As the resinous seeds smoldered and smoked, the enclosed space of the tent would fill with a thick, aromatic haze. Feel the warmth of the fire, the close confines. And then, slowly, the subtle shift in the air, the deepening of breath. What followed was a release, a collective effervescence.
And the spirit burns away.
Herodotus wrote of laughter and shouting filling the air, a joyous cacophony echoing from within the tents. It wasn't a quiet, meditative experience like some cultures practiced. It was a vibrant, communal release, a letting go amidst the harsh realities of nomadic life. Centuries later, modern archaeology offered remarkable corroboration. Imagine the careful excavation of ancient burial mounds, or kurgans, in the remote Altai Mountains.
From this earth,
Here,
life
in
springs
tombs
forth.
belonging to Scythian nobles,
We entrust these
archaeologists discovered braziers, small,
waiting the light,
portable fire pits,
the relentless
still containing residues with high levels of THC, the very compound responsible for the intoxicating effects.
meet the demands of a
These were not just everyday items. They were ritualistic objects, powerful evidence of a practice deeply embedded in their cultural fabric. For the Scythians, this smoke held a profound, transformative meaning. It wasn't merely about getting high. It was inextricably linked to rituals of rebirth and purification, particularly in the context of funerals.
but we are running
Imagine the solemnity of saying goodbye to a fallen king
rests here
or a revered elder.
between the warmth
The smoke,
of the sun
rising from the burning seeds, symbolized not just the journey of the soul, but also a cleansing, a purification for both the departed and those left behind. Funerals, in this light, were not solely mournful affairs. They were profound purification ceremonies, enveloped in clouds of sacred smoke.
through this
A touch of dark humor might flicker in your mind.
speak
Contemplating this ancient scene, perhaps the world's first sauna and funeral, offered as a convenient two-for-one spiritual package. But beneath this light-hearted observation lies a deeper truth about their pragmatic yet spiritual approach to life and death.
Wisdom is not found in the accumulation
As
of
these
facts,
nomadic
but in the
warriors
understanding
swept
of
across the vast Eurasian steppe,
How can we understand
whether through trade, conquest, or simply by the sheer force of their migrations, cannabis traveled with them. It journeyed west on horseback, a silent companion carried in pouches and saddlebags, its seeds scattered, its legacy sown across new lands. The smoke, a binding force. United warrior and shaman under the same boundless sky, transcending their individual roles and bringing them together in shared experience. The Scythians were a people whose religion had no grand temples, no imposing stone structures. Their spiritual sanctuaries were their tents, filled with the warmth of fire and the sacred clouds of smoke, connecting them to the spirit world and to each other. Feel the raw, elemental power of their faith, forged in the vastness of the wild. You are now transported to the classical world, to the sun-drenched marble cities of ancient Greece and the imposing grandeur of Rome. Imagine the bustling agora, the philosophical debates under olive trees, the disciplined legions marching on cobblestone roads. Here, the plant, having journeyed across continents, found a new context, woven into the fabric of intellectual inquiry and practical healing. You might hear the very word cannabis whispered in the marketplace, its syllables carrying the echoes of its Scythian origins,
sacred smoke
slowly entering the Greek lexicon. It was a word that signified more than just a plant.
seek the gold
It represented a bridge between cultures, a silent testament to ancient trade routes and cultural exchange. Consider the great minds of the age Herodotus, the father of history, whose curiosity documented the customs of the Scythians. Galen, the preeminent physician whose treatises influenced medicine for over a millennium. Dioscorides, the pharmacologist whose vast herbal compendium was an indispensable guide. See them consulting their scrolls, observing, experimenting, and noting the plant's remarkable properties. They recorded its ability to bring laughter, to lift the spirits, and equally importantly, to relieve pain, to soothe the body's myriad discomforts. It was acknowledged not just as a curiosity, but as a practical, therapeutic agent. In the hands of the Romans, famed for their pragmatism and engineering prowess, hemp took on an even more utilitarian role. Imagine a busy Roman pharmacy, the scent of herbs filling the air, pharmacists carefully grinding and mixing remedies. They pressed hemp oil, a valuable commodity, to create preparations for earaches, offering relief from persistent discomfort, and for the persistent aches of arthritis, providing solace to aging bodies. Its medicinal applications were deeply integrated into their health practices. Beyond its pharmaceutical uses, fiber hemp was a crucial resource that literally built the backbone of the Roman Empire. Picture the mighty Roman fleet, hundreds of vessels sailing across the Mediterranean, projecting power and facilitating trade. You realize that the very ships themselves, their sturdy sails catching the wind, their robust ropes securing masts and cargo, were often made from hemp. Even the legions, famed for their discipline, might have worn armor reinforced with hemp fibers, or their tents and coverings crafted from its durable weave. It was the material of empire, quietly supporting its vast infrastructure. For the thinkers and philosophers of Greece and Rome, intoxication, even that derived from plants, was often viewed through an intellectual lens. Imagine a philosopher in a quiet courtyard, contemplating the effects of various substances. For them, altering perception was not an end in itself, but rather a test, a challenge to the limits of reason. Could one maintain composure, analyze thoughts? Even when the mind was gently swayed by external forces, it was a fascinating aspect of their quest for self-knowledge. And here, you might entertain a touch of gentle humor, musing on the vast sweep of Roman history. Perhaps Rome fell, not solely from decadence or barbarian invasions, but from something far more mundane, yet utterly catastrophic critical supply chain issues. A disruption in the flow of essential hemp for their navy and industry. But leaving humor aside, cannabis, in this classical era, became a quiet symbol of philosophy and medicine intertwined. A plant that spoke to both the body's needs and the mind's inquiries. To know thyself, in the eyes of these ancient thinkers, sometimes required a willingness to venture beyond ordinary perception, to temporarily forget oneself, to glimpse the boundaries of consciousness. Feel the intellectual curiosity that guided their understanding, a blend of practicality and profound inquiry. You journey now into the heart of the European Middle Ages, a time of fervent faith, monastic contemplation, and the slow, arduous work of preserving knowledge. Imagine the cold, echoing stone walls of a medieval monastery, the flickering candlelight illuminating ancient manuscripts, the scent of parchment and beeswax. Here, amidst the quiet devotion, you discover the enduring, often overlooked, role of this remarkable plant. Picture Charlemagne, the formidable emperor, whose decrees shaped the very landscape of early medieval Europe. Hear his authoritative voice, issuing mandates that reached every corner of his vast empire. One such order, practical and far-reaching, was for monasteries to cultivate hemp. This wasn't a casual suggestion. It was a strategic imperative. Monasteries, as centers of learning and self-sufficiency, were vital to the infrastructure of the age. And for their myriad needs, hemp was indispensable. Consider the immense labor involved in copying and preserving holy books, the very foundation of Christian knowledge. Feel the rough texture of the paper, knowing that many of these invaluable texts, including early Bibles and countless illuminated manuscripts, relied on hemp fiber for their durability and longevity. Imagine the arduous process of lighting a vast monastery, warming its chapels and scriptoriums. The candles, essential for illumination and ritual, were often made with hemp oil and wicks, and for the everyday work of monastic life, from binding sheaves of grain to hoisting supplies. Ropes made from sturdy hemp fiber were indispensable. You realize, with a touch of quiet irony, that holy smoke wasn't always a metaphor. Sometimes it was a literal, practical reality, serving the very foundations of faith. In this era, a subtle, often unacknowledged hypocrisy unfolded within the church. While pleasure, particularly physical indulgence, was often frowned upon and even banned as a path to sin, painkillers were quietly blessed, seen as a merciful means to alleviate suffering. Imagine the monks, dedicated to their vows of austerity, enduring physical ailments, and finding solace in herbal remedies, including those derived from hemp. This plant offered relief from chronic pain, allowing them to continue their arduous labors and contemplative practices. Consider one of the most transformative inventions in human history, the Gutenberg Bible. See the meticulous craftsmanship, the revolutionary printing press, and feel the weight of its pages. A profound testament to human ingenuity, this very Bible, which democratized access to Scripture and reshaped the intellectual landscape of Europe, was printed on strong, durable hemp paper. This humble plant literally carried the Word of God into the hands of the people. In an age when the divine sometimes seemed to fall silent, when doubt and hardship pressed in, hemp still spoke volumes through its sheer utility. It provided tangible comfort, practical solutions, and the very means of disseminating sacred knowledge. You realize that every sermon delivered from the pulpit, every prayer read from a cherished book, was, in a quiet and profound way, printed on a material derived from a plant that would later be associated with sin. And so, beneath the austere robes of monks, hidden behind the quiet clinking of rosaries, vast fields of hemp hummed quietly, sustaining a civilization and preserving its spiritual legacy. Feel the deep, unspoken connection between the earthly and the divine, woven into the very fabric of medieval life. You are now swept into a period of grand exploration and global expansion, the Age of Sail, where mighty wooden ships ventured across vast, uncharted oceans, redrawing the map of the world. Imagine the salt spray on your face, the creaking of timbers, the vast expanse of the open sea. Here, you discover a profound truth: every burgeoning empire, every ambitious voyage, every assertion of global power floated, quite literally, on hemp and, often, on a bed of quiet hypocrisy. Picture the intrepid journeys of Christopher Columbus, his small fleet bravely setting course for the unknown in 1492. His ships, and those of later pioneers like the Mayflower, carried not just provisions and dreams, but also precious hemp seeds to the New World. These were not mere botanical specimens. They were vital provisions, essential for establishing self-sufficient colonies and ensuring future maritime prowess. The plant was a silent, indispensable passenger on these epic voyages of discovery. as European powers began to colonize the vast American continent. The importance of hemp became a matter of strategic national interest. Hear the ringing of blacksmith hammers, the cries of workers, and the rustle of official decrees. In colonies like Virginia, laws were enacted, making it mandatory for every farmer to cultivate hemp. This wasn't a suggestion, it was a legal obligation, a vital contribution to the nascent colonial economy and the burgeoning naval power of the motherland. The plant was woven into the very fabric of emergent nationhood. Consider the profound moment of America's birth, the creation of its foundational documents. Imagine the quiet intensity in the room as the Declaration of Independence was drafted, the quill scratching against paper. That very paper, bearing the revolutionary words that declared a new nation, was likely made from durable hemp fibers. The plant that would later be demonized provided the physical medium for the proclamation of freedom itself. Across the Atlantic, the great European powers, Britain, France, Russia, were locked in a constant struggle for naval supremacy. Feel the tension, the fierce competition for control of the seas. At the heart of this struggle lay a seemingly mundane, yet utterly critical resource: hemp. Supplies for ropes, sails, and other naval materials were absolutely essential for maintaining a dominant fleet. Empires rose and fell on the availability of this vital crop. The geopolitical significance of hemp even triggered major international crises. Imagine the frustration and strategic maneuvering of Napoleon Bonaparte, facing the formidable naval power of Britain. His infamous embargo on Russian hemp, aimed at crippling the British fleet, ignited a deep diplomatic crisis, underscoring just how central this plant was to the balance of power. Before the age of coal and oil, before the rise of steam and steel, hemp quietly powered the global economy, fueling exploration, trade, and conquest. There's a gentle, almost wry humor in realizing that these empires, in their relentless pursuit of dominance, effectively conquered continents and built vast commercial networks using what we would now consider an eco-friendly, sustainable material. The sheer irony is palpable. This plant, which facilitated so much freedom and expansion, which was hailed as a cornerstone of liberty, would, in a swift and brutal historical turn, soon become the very plant of fear, a symbol of moral panic and criminalization. Feel the immense forces of history at play, transforming the meaning of a simple plant. You journey now to late 18th century Europe, to the sophisticated salons of Paris, to a time when intellectual curiosity and exoticism blended into a heady cocktail of cultural discovery. Imagine the soft glow of gaslight, the murmur of conversation, the scent of perfume and fresh coffee. Here, amidst the intellectual ferment, a new, intoxicating influence arrived, brought back from distant lands. Picture Napoleon Bonaparte's campaign in Egypt in 1798. His soldiers, venturing into the ancient land, encountered local customs and substances far removed from European sensibilities. Among their discoveries was hashish, a potent concentrate of the cannabis plant. When these troops returned to Europe, they brought not just artifacts and tales of ancient wonders, but also this intriguing, mind-altering substance, hashish. Previously a curiosity in some intellectual circles, began its slow, inexorable journey into the heart of European artistic and literary life. In the mid-19th century, imagine a clandestine gathering in a lavish Parisian apartment, the famed Club des Hashishins. Here, A coterie of brilliant, unconventional minds congregated the melancholic poet Charles Baudelaire, the prolific novelist Alexandre Dumas, the flamboyant writer Théophile Gautier. Hear their animated discussions, see the wisps of smoke curling from their pipes as they deliberately experimented with hashish, seeking altered states, vivid visions, and new dimensions of creativity. It was an audacious exploration, pushing the boundaries of perception and artistic inspiration. Hashish, in this era, became a powerful muse for the Romantic movement, fueling the imaginations of artists, writers, and musicians. It was seen as a key to unlocking deeper truths, a catalyst for dreams, and a pathway to heightened sensory experiences. Early psychiatrists, intrigued by its effects on the mind, also began to cautiously explore its potential. Meanwhile, in the most unexpected of places, across the English Channel, Queen Victoria, the formidable monarch, endured the debilitating pain of menstrual cramps. Her personal physician prescribed cannabis tincture, a liquid extract, to alleviate her suffering. It was a private tumsa, practical application of the plant's medicinal properties, far removed from the bohemian excesses of Paris, yet a testament to its accepted therapeutic use within established medical practice. And even further back in time, centuries earlier, a fascinating secret lingered. Envision the meticulous work of forensic archaeologists examining ancient clay pipes found in the garden of William Shakespeare himself. To their astonishment, these pipes tested positive for resin residue, suggesting that even the Bard of Avon might have partaken in its subtle influence. A quiet humor might arise as you consider the possibility that great art often begins with what would later be deemed mild crimes, or at least unconventional habits. Hash, once a colonial curiosity brought back from distant lands, slowly but surely transformed into a potent cultural icon. It symbolized the exotic, the forbidden, the gateway to an expanded consciousness. The East, with its ancient spiritual traditions and mystical substances, offered a tantalizing vision of enlightenment. And the West, with its burgeoning capitalism and intellectual fervor, packaged it, consumed it, and interpreted it through its own unique cultural lens. Feel the intoxicating blend of intrigue and fascination that gripped the European imagination. You are now transported to the height of the British Empire, to the vast and complex landscape of colonial India. Imagine the bustling streets of Calcutta, the grandeur of British administrative buildings, the clash of cultures and economies. Here, you witness a profound paradox, a stark contradiction in colonial policy and morality. They banned bang but drank gin. This phrase encapsulates the hypocrisy that often underlay the civilizing mission of empire. The British, ever pragmatic and economically driven, recognized the utility of the hemp plant. Hear the whirring of machinery, the shouts of laborers, as they mass-produced hemp for ropes, sails, and a myriad of other industrial purposes. Not just for domestic consumption, but for massive export back to the homeland and across their global empire. The industrial potential of the plant was fully embraced, exploited for its material value. Yet, simultaneously, a different narrative was being constructed, one that sought to control and define the cultural practices of the colonized. In 1894, the British colonial administration commissioned the Comprehensive Indian Hemp Drugs Commission. Imagine the meticulous gathering of data, the interviews with experts and users. Its findings were remarkably nuanced, concluding that bang, when consumed in moderation, was largely harmless and rarely led to violence or insanity. It affirmed that moderate use was a part of daily life for many, ingrained in cultural and religious practices. Despite these findings, colonial media, driven by a blend of moral superiority and racial prejudice, began to paint a different picture. Read the sensational headlines, the lurid descriptions in newspapers and pamphlets, depicting Pang users as lazy, degenerate, and a threat to social order. The plant, and those who used it, became a convenient symbol of the uncivilized other, a justification for imposing Western norms and controls. Religious rituals, which had for millennia incorporated cannabis as a sacred component, suddenly found themselves under threat, deemed primitive or immoral by the colonial authorities. Yet, the trade and production of hemp for industrial purposes, for the economic benefit of the empire, continued unabated. The material value was extracted, while the cultural and spiritual significance was suppressed. A bitter humor might rise in your throat as you reflect on this dichotomy. The moral superiority asserted by the colonizers often reeked of cheap rum, their own favored intoxicant, while they condemned the plant-based traditions of the indigenous populations. Cannabis became a convenient proxy, a visible marker of the distinction between the enlightened colonizer and the primitive colonized. Western science, in this period, began to strip the plant of its soul, dissecting it, reducing it to mere molecules and chemical compounds, largely ignoring its rich cultural history and spiritual significance. The empire purified the drug, categorizing and controlling its physical properties. But in doing so, it profoundly corrupted its meaning, severing it from its ancient roots of healing and reverence. Feel the deep injustice, the clash of worlds, and the enduring legacy of colonial power shaping perceptions. You are now catapulted to the early 20th century, to the vibrant yet anxious atmosphere of 1930s America. Imagine the bustling cities, the economic uncertainty of the Great Depression, and the rise of new social anxieties. Here, you witness a chilling transformation of plant. Revered for millennia, deliberately and systematically morphed into a monster, a symbol of moral decay and societal threat. This was not an organic shift in public perception, it was a carefully orchestrated campaign, the invention of fear itself. Picture a man named Harry Anslinger, the first commissioner of the Federal Bureau of Narcotics, driven by a fervent, almost evangelical zeal. Hear his powerful, resonant voice as he launched the notorious Reefer Madness campaign. This wasn't about reasoned debate or scientific evidence. It was about sensationalism and alarm, designed to instill widespread moral panic. His campaign ignited a firestorm of propaganda, painting cannabis as a grave danger to American society. Imagine flipping through the pages of newspapers, seeing the lurid headlines shriek across the front pages. Marijuana drives young men to murder. Insanity caused by the devil weed. Jazz clubs and dope. The corrupting influence. Cannabis was nefariously linked to violent crime, to madness, to sexual promiscuity, and especially to the perceived degeneracy of jazz music and its primarily African-American and Mexican-American proponents. The plant became a racialized scapegoat, a symbol of all that was supposedly wrong with modern society. Then, you encounter the infamous propaganda film, Reefer Madness, released in 1936. Picture the grainy black and white footage, the melodramatic acting, the exaggerated scenarios. Watch as innocent teenagers are depicted descending into madness, violence, and depravity after a single puff of marijuana. This film, crude as it was, became a powerful tool, embedding irrational fear deep into the public consciousness, shaping perceptions for generations. The culmination of this fear campaign arrived in 1937 with the passage of the Marijuana Tax Act. Feel the weight of this legislative document, quietly but effectively criminalizing the plant across the nation. While presented as a tax regulation, its true intent was prohibition, making the cultivation, possession, and sale of cannabis incredibly difficult and ultimately illegal. By 1942, in a definitive act of official erasure, cannabis was completely deleted from the U.S. Pharmacopoeia, effectively stripping it of its long-standing legitimacy as a medicine. A touch of dark humor might cross your mind as you consider the absurdity of this campaign, the only thing truly addictive. It seems, was the propaganda itself, the relentless repetition of falsehoods. Science, with its empirical evidence and nuanced understanding, was summarily ignored, drowned out by the thunderous roar of political expediency and moral panic. Fear, you realize, possessed a terrifying momentum, traveling faster and spreading more virulently than any smoke, eclipsing reason and leading a nation astray. You are now thrust into the tumultuous years of World War II, a time of global conflict and profound national emergency. Imagine the rallying cries for patriotism, the rationing, the collective effort to defeat tyranny. Here, in the face of an existential threat, you witness a stunning reversal, a profound irony in America's relationship with the plant. They banned it in peace and begged for it in war. Picture the desperate scramble for resources as the United States entered the war. Traditional supply lines for critical materials were disrupted, and the nation faced severe shortages. Suddenly, a plant that had been relentlessly demonized, its growers imprisoned, its users condemned, became a vital strategic asset. Hear the urgent calls from government officials, the shift in rhetoric, as the UN government launched an astonishing campaign, Hemp for Victory. Under this directive, the very plant once outlawed was now celebrated as a patriotic necessity. See the black and white propaganda films, the posters urging farmers to plant hemp for the war effort. Within a remarkably short period, over 400,000 acres across the nation were replanted with hemp. Farmers, who just a few years earlier might have faced arrest for cultivating this crop, were now hailed as heroes, rescuing the nation by growing the very plant that had been so viciously condemned. Hemp provided essential fibers for ropes, parachute webbing, uniforms, and countless other materials crucial for the war machine. Feel the quiet satisfaction of those farmers, vindicated by circumstance, as they tilled their fields, providing the sinews of war. The irony, though profound, was largely ignored in the urgency of the moment. Hemp saved soldiers, provided the materials that helped win the war. But then, as quickly as the war ended and victory was secured, the collective memory seemed to fade, and the old fears resurfaced. You witnessed the abrupt shift back to prohibition, a quiet resumption of the policies that had criminalized the plant. The Hemp for Victory films were shelved, the patriotic calls forgotten, and the arrests of growers, once paused, quietly resumed. A biting humor might rise within you as you observe this psycho-patriotism. It seems often expires after the profit motive shifts, or after the immediate crisis has passed. The same plant, lauded as a lifesaver for soldiers during wartime, became the very cause for which soldiers turned police arrested its growers in peacetime. It was the same plant, biologically unchanged, yet viewed through two diametrically opposite moral lenses. Cannabis didn't change its chemical composition or its inherent properties. Policy did, swayed by convenience, fear, and economic interests. History, you realize, often has a way of repeating its hypocrisies, aging them like a fine, bitter wine. Feel the deep, unsettling reverberation of this moral inconsistency. You are now plunged into the vibrant, rebellious decade of the 1960s. A time of profound social upheaval, cultural revolution, and a passionate quest for peace and freedom. Imagine the psychedelic colors, the sounds of rock and folk music, the fervent protests against war and injustice. Here, the plant you are tracing became more than just a substance. It evolved into a powerful symbol, embraced by the counterculture as an emblem of peace, rebellion, and a conscious rejection of established norms. Picture the throngs of young people, their hair long, their clothes unconventional, gathered in parks and at music festivals. For them, weed was a gateway, a shared experience that fostered connection, introspection, and a challenge to the rigid conservatism of the older generation. It was a tangible expression of their ideals, peace, love, and a desire for a more authentic way of life. In this era of challenging authority, figures like Timothy Leary, the charismatic psychologist and advocate, emerged as champions of psychedelic exploration. Hear his provocative statements, urging people to tune in, turn on, drop out. Leary famously sued and, for a time, defeated the old Marijuana Tax Act, arguing its unconstitutionality, but Congress, feeling the pressure and the perceived threat to social order, retaliated swiftly and decisively. In 1970, the Controlled Substances Act was passed, a monumental piece of legislation that reclassified cannabis, placing it in the most restrictive category alongside heroin, effectively nullifying any prior legal victories. Simultaneously, the Drug Enforcement Administration (DEA) was founded, a powerful new federal agency tasked with enforcing drug laws, and with a chilling declaration that would define an era. President Richard Nixon officially launched the war on drugs. Hear the uncompromising rhetoric, the solemn pronouncements of a battle against an insidious enemy. This wasn't just a metaphor. It was a vast, expensive, and deeply divisive campaign that would dramatically reshape American society. Further complicating matters, you learn that the White House, aware of scientific findings that did not support the harsh criminalization of cannabis, actively suppressed and buried reports recommending decriminalization. The truth was deemed inconvenient, politically damaging to the war effort. A dark humor might surface as you consider the priorities of the time. The government, ostensibly fighting communism abroad, was simultaneously waging a fierce, relentless war against a plant and its users at home. This domestic war had devastating consequences. Arrests for cannabis possession soared, disproportionately targeting minority communities, particularly African Americans and Mexican Americans, deepening racial inequalities within the criminal justice system. The plant, once a symbol of freedom and expression, became irrefutable evidence, consigning countless individuals to prison cells. It was no longer about personal choice or altered perception. It was about crime, punishment, and control. Yet, despite the harsh realities of policy and prosecution, the music, the art, the ideals of the counterculture, fueled in part by this plant, survived. The policy basutama, however, would eventually buckle under the weight of its own ineffectiveness and injustice. Feel the profound social and personal cost of this ideological battle. You are now ushered into the late 20th century, to the quiet, meticulous laboratories where scientific inquiry began to unravel the mysteries of the human body. Imagine the hum of sophisticated equipment,
Cultivation is
the focused concentration of researchers peering through microscopes.
to the careful
Here,
harvest.
in the realm of molecular biology and neuroscience, a groundbreaking discovery began to emerge. One that would fundamentally redefine humanity's relationship with the plant. The body had been smoking all along. In the 1980s, a series of astonishing scientific breakthroughs began to reveal the existence of a previously unknown physiological system within the human body. Feel the excitement in the scientific community as researchers identified what they termed the endocannabinoid system, ECS. This wasn't some minor biological pathway. It was a fundamental, master regulatory system, deeply integrated into nearly every aspect of human health. Picture the intricate dance of molecules within your own body. Scientists discovered specific receptors, like tiny locks, scattered throughout the brain, nervous system, immune cells, and various organs. These were named CB1 and CB2 receptors. You learn that these receptors play a crucial role in regulating a vast array of physiological processes tempering mood, modulating pain signals, fine-tuning memory, managing sleep cycles, influencing appetite, and maintaining overall internal balance. It was an elegant, self-correcting system designed to keep the body in optimal equilibrium. And then came the profound realization, the primary psychoactive compound in the cannabis plant, THC tetrahydrocannabinol, fit these newly discovered receptors perfectly, like a key finding its precisely engineered lock. This wasn't a random coincidence. It was a stunning testament to nature's profound design. A chemical handshake forged millions of years ago, waiting to be rediscovered. Your own body, you realize, was literally wired to interact with this plant. A quiet, almost whimsical humor might surface as you grasp the implications in a sense. Humans come with built-in weed Wi-Fi, an inherent biological system designed to interface with compounds found in cannabis. This discovery wasn't just interesting, it was a revelation, turning decades of prohibitionist rhetoric on its head. Further research illuminated the therapeutic potential of cannabis compounds. You learned that these cannabinoids demonstrated powerful anti-inflammatory properties, offering relief from chronic swelling and pain. They were found to be neuroprotective, potentially safeguarding brain cells from damage. And crucially, they exhibited mood-balancing effects, offering hope for those struggling with anxiety, depression, and other mental health challenges. Biology, with its undeniable evidence, began to replace superstition and prejudice. The long-standing stigma surrounding the plant slowly but surely began to meet the immutable force of science. Researchers, often quietly at first, then with increasing assertiveness, began to rewrite medical textbooks, offering a silent but profound apology for decades of misinformation and misclassification. The plant, it was now clear, didn't create chaos within the body. It revealed a deeper, more profound order, a natural system designed for balance and well-being. Feel the profound shift in understanding, the quiet redemption of a long-maligned friend. You now enter the present era, a time of profound cultural and legal shifts, where the relentless march of scientific discovery and evolving public opinion began to dismantle decades of prohibition. Imagine the quiet but determined voices of patients and advocates, challenging entrenched laws, paving the way for a revolutionary transformation. Yesterday's crime, today's prescription. The year 1996 marked a pivotal moment. Feel the ripple of change as California, a state often at the forefront of social progress, legalized medical cannabis. This wasn't just a local policy change. It was the first domino to fall, igniting a national and even global conversation. It was a bold step, acknowledging the therapeutic value of a plant long deemed dangerous and illegal. As scientific understanding deepened, another crucial distinction emerged. CBD cannabidiol was successfully separated and isolated from THC tetrahydrocannabinol. Realize the profound significance of this. It meant that patients could access the healing properties of cannabinoids without the intoxicating high associated with THC. This breakthrough opened doors to wider acceptance, allowing individuals to experience relief without altering their consciousness. Picture the countless patients, once suffering in silence, now regaining dignity and quality of life through the therapeutic potential of cannabinoids. Hear stories of cancer patients finding relief from nausea and pain, of children with severe epilepsy experiencing dramatic reductions in seizures, of veterans with PTSD finding solace and peace.
They tried to bury us,
The plant,
but they didn't
in its
know
various
there was
forms,
needs.
became a lifeline, a testament to its profound medical efficacy.
It's coming.
Even international bodies began to acknowledge this undeniable shift. The World Health Organization, WHO, a global authority on public health, affirmed the low-risk profile of CBD and its high therapeutic potential, lending international credibility to its medicinal applications. This endorsement further eroded the foundations of the reefer madness narrative. The collective consciousness of America began to shift dramatically. Feel the changing tides of public opinion, reflected in polls and surveys. Now, over 75% of Americans, a vast majority, favor some form of cannabis legalization, whether for medical or recreational use. The fear, so carefully constructed decades ago, was slowly but surely dissipating in the light of truth and personal experience. A gentle, perhaps cynical humor might arise as you consider the ultimate irony. The same government entities that relentlessly jailed growers, that orchestrated the war on drugs, are now quietly or overtly patenting various cannabis extracts and cannabinoids for their own pharmaceutical and commercial ventures. The economic landscape, you realize, is a powerful driver of policy. But beyond the politics and profits, the deeper story is one of redemption. Drugs, once a label for illicit substances, were being transformed into legitimate medicine. Stigma, once a heavy cloak of shame, was being shed in the unwavering light of science. From cell blocks, where countless individuals were imprisoned for their connection to the plant, to clinics, where patients found relief and hope. The scent of redemption began to permeate the air, smelling, perhaps, faintly like hemp. Feel the profound victory of healing and understanding over ignorance and fear. You are now standing at the threshold of the future, witnessing a profound reawakening, an industrial rebirth that promises not only economic prosperity, but also environmental healing. Imagine the urgency of our planet's challenges: climate change, resource depletion, pollution, and then envision a quiet hero emerging from the shadows. A plant that could, quite literally, help save the planet. Hemp, the ancient workhorse, is returning to center stage, not just as medicine, but as a sustainable, versatile resource poised to revolutionize multiple industries. See vast fields stretching across the landscape, vibrant green against the sky, absorbing carbon dioxide with remarkable efficiency. It is being rediscovered as a superior fiber for textiles, a durable paper source that spares our forests, a clean burning fuel, and an innovative bioplastic that offers an alternative to petroleum-based products. Consider its ecological superpower. Hemp absorbs 4 times more CO2 from the atmosphere than forests do. Imagine the profound impact if this plant were cultivated on a large scale, actively sequestering carbon and acting as a natural climate solution. Feel the air growing cleaner, the balance slowly restoring. Even the automotive industry, historically a heavy polluter, is beginning to look to hemp for greener solutions. Remember the pioneering efforts of Henry Ford, who, decades ago, famously tested a car made partly from hemp plastic, a vision far ahead of its time. Now, modern innovators like Tesla are revisiting hemp composites, recognizing their strength, lightweight properties, and environmental benefits. Imagine a future where your car's interior, or even parts of its body, are derived from this sustainable plant. Beyond its material benefits, hemp farming itself offers significant environmental advantages. You learn that it is a soil-healing plant, naturally enriching the earth, improving its structure, and reducing the need for harsh chemical fertilizers. Furthermore, it requires significantly less water to grow compared to many other crops, making it an incredibly climate-friendly choice in an era of increasing water scarcity. A touch of gentle humor might cross your mind as you consider humanity's journey after centuries of inadvertently wrecking the earth with industrial pollution and unsustainable practices. We are, with a quiet humility, rediscovering the profound wisdom of photosynthesis, of harnessing the power of plants to heal our world. Governments worldwide, recognizing the urgent need for sustainable solutions, are now actively reinvesting in hemp agriculture. Hear the policy debates, the strategic planning, as nations seek to build a greener economy, integrating this versatile plant into their long-term environmental strategies. From being an outlaw, a forbidden crop, hemp is steadily transforming into an eco-hero, a silent champion in the fight for a healthier planet. In the end, you realize, hemp was the quiet superhero we ignored for too long, patiently waiting for humanity to come to its senses. Feel a sense of hope, a gentle promise for a more sustainable future. You have journeyed through millennia, across continents and cultures, witnessing the profound and ever-shifting story of a single plant. Now, as the narrative gently draws to a close, reflect on the enduring lessons, the quiet truths that echo through time. Imagine the last wisps of smoke curling upwards, carrying with it the collective memory of human experience. Across these vast expanses of time, through countless civilizations and diverse belief systems, cannabis has cycled through an astonishing array of identities. It has been worshipped as a divine gift, revered as sacred medicine, condemned as a dangerous crime, and embraced again as a potent cure. You realize that humanity, in its collective journey, has forgotten and then remembered this plant again and again, trapped in a curious loop of moral amnesia. This remarkable plant, in its essence, never changed. Its chemistry remained constant, its potential unaltered. It is we, humanity, who constantly redefined it, projecting our fears, our aspirations, our moral anxieties onto its silent form. The plant acts as a profound mirror, reflecting our own societal health. When fear rises, when prejudice takes hold, reason often fades, replaced by moral panic and irrational condemnation. Civilization, you observe, doesn't always progress in a straight linear path towards enlightenment. Instead, it oscillates, swinging between openness and restriction, between understanding and ignorance, often repeating the same lessons in new guises. A final touch of quiet humor might emerge as you consider the irony we criminalized a fundamental part of nature.
Observe the rapid
And in our hubris, we called it culture,